Welcome to my labyrinth. It is a walking meditation map. It has one single path that meanders in a circuitous way from the entry to the center and back out again. The labyrinth is not to be confused with a maze. A maze is designed for you to lose your way. This labyrinth is where you will find your way. This is my gift that I was gifted and am regifting to my children and my community. I learnt to meditate walking the labyrinth spirals, and at first I found it so hard to sit in silence and meditate. But the first time I walked the labyrinth, I went right into the meditative space. I am Aboriginal Australian. It is in my blood to go walk about. Maybe it's in yours too. There is a spiral tendency within each one of us that is the longing and growth towards wholeness. Every whole is cyclic and has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It starts from a point, expands and differentiates, contracts and disappears into the point once more. This is the pattern of our lifetime, and may well be the pattern of our universe, only with the time scale changed. So life is a path through time, and therefore a continuum. We can also imagine it as a line, and further, since it returns and yet flows in, it is a spiral. Only if it were possible to come back to the same point in time could it be a circle. Any circular movement carried into the fourth dimension of space-time becomes a spiral, which is why cyclic processes in time never repeat themselves. Even the Earth's orbit around the sun is a spiral in time, and every year is different from the last. Life and death are intrinsically linked. We cannot have one without the other, and each of us knows at some level that our physical lives will end in death at some unknown time. The labyrinth has a connection with death and a triumphant return. It can leverage the process of acknowledging the reality of our inevitable dying to befriend, accept, and even embrace it. This allows us to live our lives even more richly. The labyrinth itself is a metaphysical journey whose center you swirl around as your soul becomes the still pond in the center of the whirling storm. The mirror your soul can be seen reflecting in. It's a blueprint to where psyche meets spirit, and walking the path becomes a metaphor for your own spiritual journey. Walking the spirals, we can intuitively sense that as humans, we are reflections of the great mysterious energy that is omniscient and omnipresent. It is truth in symbolic form. It is a spiritual tool for personal, psychological, and spiritual transformation, a sacred place for rituals, a path for prayer. It is something ancient with modern relevance. It reduces stress, quiets your mind, and opens your heart. It is a subtle projection of the celestial harmony that lives in matter and is successfully transferred from the plane to the curve. This magic, this tension in space that generates energy, is responsible for the dissolution, weight by weight, of the grossest and subtlest senses at the same time. It takes courage to go on a pilgrimage. Even if the destination is self-chosen and your trip tailor-made to meet your needs, it still takes courage. You leave your familiar world and family behind, farewell the familiarity of your loved ones, and you walk into the unknown. The journey into yourself takes the most courage. There are whole books on the spiritual and healing effects of labyrinths. Modern mystics use them to guide themselves into the contemplative state. Walking the turns, you lose track of time, your sense of direction, and your awareness of the outside world, and this quiets your mind. It is a means of passage from one world into another, a bridge between two worlds which, geometrically speaking, express themselves differently. Labyrinths boost right brain activity as a spiritual tool of healing and balance, a place you can mull over questions that trouble or excite you, and to find the time and place for sacred spaces in your life. The labyrinth gives you a time out from your ordinary life to connect with your bigger, inner, spiritual side, and they can be found all over, in retreat centers like Peace Village, private gardens, and in churches, and for therapeutic uses in hospitals and hospices. The labyrinth is designed to be experienced bodily, but there is no right way to meditate the labyrinth. Just being with it visually can be enough. You can walk it in your mind, drawing one on on paper or in sand, or getting a finger labyrinth or a labyrinth necklace and tracing the path with your finger is effective. You will find deep intuitional knowing that the great mysterious energy, the connection to cosmic consciousness, the astral plane portal is waiting for you at the center of the labyrinth.